Yemen, located in the southern Arabian Peninsula, is a country with a rich yet tumultuous history. Its strategic location has made it a crossroads of civilizations, but also a battleground for competing powers, has a long history marked by instability. From ancient kingdoms to modern-day conflicts, Yemen has seen it all. Even before the current conflict, Yemen faced significant challenges as one of the poorest countries in the Arab world. The lack of resources and economic opportunities has always been a major issue. Following unification in 1990, political tensions simmered under President Ali Abdullah Saleh. His leadership was initially seen as a step towards stability, but it soon became clear that underlying issues were far from resolved. His rule was marred by corruption and human rights abuses, fueling resentment and unrest. The government's inability to address these issues led to widespread discontent among the population. The Arab Spring in 2011 ignited widespread protests in Yemen, demanding political reform and economic justice. People from all walks of life took to the streets, hoping for a better future. Saleh stepped down in 2012, but the transition was fragile. The new leadership faced immense challenges in uniting a divided nation. Abdrabbuh Mansour Hadi, Saleh's vice president, assumed the presidency but struggled to establish control. His administration was plagued by internal divisions and external pressures. Various factions, including the Houthis, capitalized on the power vacuum to advance their own agendas. The resulting conflict has plunged Yemen into one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. The Houthi movement, a Zaidi Shia group from northern Yemen, emerged as a key player in the lead-up to the civil war. In 2014, the Houthis exploited the weakness of the transitional government and launched a military offensive, capturing the capital, Sana'a. The Houthis' advance and their alliance with former President Saleh significantly escalated the conflict. The intervention of regional powers transformed the conflict into a devastating proxy war. The Yemen Civil War is characterized by a complex web of alliances and competing interests. On one side is the internationally recognized government of President Hadi, backed by a Saudi-led coalition. Opposing them are the Houthis, supported by Iran. Adding complexity is the Southern Transitional Council, STC, a separatist group backed by the UAE. The involvement of external actors, particularly Saudi Arabia and Iran, has exacerbated the suffering of the Yemeni people. The Saudi-led coalition has launched a relentless air campaign, while Iran provides the Houthis with support. The Yemen Civil War has had a catastrophic impact on the country and its people. The UN estimates that over 24 million Yemenis rely on humanitarian assistance for survival. The conflict has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives and crippled the economy. The war has also devastated Yemen's infrastructure, making it challenging to provide aid and basic services. Section 5. A timeline of tragedy, key events in the Yemen Civil War. 2014, September. Houthi rebels seize control of Sana'a, forcing President Hadi to flee south. This marked a significant turning point in the conflict, as the capital city fell into the hands of the Houthis, leading to a power vacuum and escalating tensions. 2015. March. Saudi Arabia and its allies launch Operation Decisive Storm. This military intervention aimed to restore President Hadi's government and curb the Houthi advance. The operation involved extensive airstrikes and a naval blockade, significantly impacting the civilian population. 2015. April. The UN declares Yemen a Level 3 humanitarian emergency. This is the highest level of humanitarian crisis, indicating severe and widespread suffering. The conflict has led to massive displacement, food insecurity, and a collapse of basic services. 2016, October. A Saudi-led coalition airstrike on a funeral hall in Sana'a kills over 140 people. This tragic event drew international condemnation and highlighted the devastating impact of the conflict on civilians. 2017, December. Former President Saleh is killed by his former allies. His death marked a significant shift in the power dynamics within Yemen, as he had recently broken his alliance with the Houthis, seeking to negotiate with the Saudi-led coalition. 2018, June. The Saudi-led coalition launches an offensive to capture Hodeidah. This port city is crucial for the delivery of humanitarian aid, and the offensive raised fears of a worsening humanitarian crisis. 2018, December. The UN brokers the Stockholm Agreement. This agreement aimed to de-escalate the conflict and facilitate the delivery of humanitarian aid, particularly through the port of Hodeidah. 2019. The Stockholm Agreement remains fragile. Despite the agreement, violations of the ceasefire continued, and the humanitarian situation remained dire. 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbates the humanitarian crisis. The already strained healthcare system struggled to cope with the pandemic, leading to increased suffering and mortality. 2021. The UN warns of the worst famine in decades. Millions of Yemenis face acute food insecurity, with children being the most vulnerable. The international community's response has been critical in providing life-saving aid. 2022, April. A 2-month UN-brokered truce goes into effect. This truce provided a brief respite from the violence, allowing for humanitarian aid to reach those in need. 2022. The truce is extended twice. Despite the extensions, the underlying issues remained unresolved and the peace was tenuous. 2023. The truce expires without renewal, but violence remains lower. The relative calm allowed for some rebuilding efforts, but the risk of renewed conflict loomed large. 2023. The Houthis launch attacks on Saudi Arabia and the UAE. These attacks further strained regional relations and prompted military responses, escalating the conflict once again. 2024. The US conducts airstrikes against Houthi targets. These strikes aim to weaken the Houthis' military capabilities and support the Saudi-led coalition. 2024. The US and UK designate the Houthis as a terrorist organization. This designation had significant political and economic implications, affecting international aid and diplomatic efforts. 2025. The Houthis continue attacks on shipping in the Red Sea. These attacks disrupted international trade routes and heightened tensions in the region. 2025. The US conducts further airstrikes against Houthi targets. These ongoing military actions underscored the persistent instability and the international community's involvement in the conflict. 2025. The humanitarian crisis continues to worsen. With millions displaced and in need of aid, the international community faces immense challenges in addressing the needs of the Yemeni people. The conflict has left a lasting impact on the nation, with a generation growing up amidst war and suffering. Section 6. Beyond Yemen's borders, regional and global geopolitical dimensions. The Yemen Civil War has far-reaching regional and global implications. Saudi Arabia views the Houthis as a threat to its national security. Iran supports the Houthis to challenge Saudi Arabia's dominance. The conflict has drawn in Western powers, particularly the US and the UK. Yemen's strategic location on the Bab el-Mandeb Strait complicates the geopolitical landscape. The Houthis' attacks on shipping in the Red Sea threaten global trade and energy supplies. These attacks have far-reaching economic consequences. Section 7. The struggle for peace, diplomatic efforts and their challenges. Numerous attempts have been made to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The Stockholm Agreement in 2018 included a ceasefire in Hodeidah and a prisoner exchange. In April 2022, a 2-month UN-brokered truce went into effect, bringing a reduction in violence. However, the truce expired in October 2022 without renewal. The fragmentation of the warring parties and the involvement of regional powers hinder peace efforts. The humanitarian crisis poses a significant obstacle to peace. Section 8. The current state of affairs, a glimmer of hope. As of 2025, the Yemen Civil War remains unresolved. The UN-brokered truce that expired in 2022 brought a reduction in violence. Recent developments offer a glimmer of hope for a peaceful resolution. In March 2023, Saudi Arabia and Iran announced a landmark agreement to restore diplomatic relations. Saudi Arabia announced it would end its military operations in Yemen. However, significant challenges remain, including the fragmentation of the warring parties and the dire humanitarian situation. Section 9. Scars of War. Yemen's uncertain future. The Yemen Civil War has left an indelible mark on the country and its people. The conflict, which began in 2014, has devastated communities, destroyed infrastructure, and led to a humanitarian crisis of unprecedented scale. Families have been torn apart, and countless lives have been lost. The scars of war are visible everywhere, from the crumbling buildings to the haunted eyes of the survivors. Even if a lasting peace agreement is reached, it will take decades for Yemen to recover. The process of rebuilding homes, schools, and hospitals will be long and arduous. The physical reconstruction is just one part of the challenge. Healing the emotional and psychological wounds will take even longer. Communities will need to come together to rebuild trust and foster a sense of unity. The humanitarian crisis will continue to pose significant challenges. With millions of people displaced and in need of urgent assistance, the road to recovery is fraught with obstacles. Access to clean water, food, and medical care remains limited, and the threat of famine looms large. International aid organizations are working tirelessly, but the scale of the crisis is overwhelming. The war has exacerbated societal divisions and created deep-seated grievances. Ethnic and sectarian tensions have been inflamed, making reconciliation a daunting task. The social fabric of Yemen has been torn apart, and rebuilding it will require patience, understanding, and a commitment to justice and equality. Efforts to bridge these divides must be prioritized to ensure a lasting peace. Rebuilding Yemen's economy and infrastructure will be a monumental task. Years of conflict have crippled the economy, leading to widespread unemployment and poverty. Restoring economic stability will require significant investment and international support. Infrastructure projects, such as rebuilding roads, ports, and communication networks, will be essential to reviving the economy and improving the quality of life for Yemenis. The international community has a moral obligation to support Yemen. Humanitarian aid, financial assistance, and diplomatic efforts are crucial to helping the country rebuild and move forward. Global solidarity and cooperation will be key to addressing the complex challenges Yemen faces. The world must not turn a blind eye to the suffering of the Yemeni people. The Yemen Civil War serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the importance of diplomacy. It highlights the need for peaceful resolutions and the prevention of future conflicts. The lessons learned from Yemen's plight should inspire a renewed commitment to peace and the protection of human rights worldwide. Only through collective action can we hope to build a better future for Yemen and other war-torn regions.